Welcome once again to the Bills and Bones podcast, where we talk football for the fans, with a focus on PC's team, the Buffalo Bills, and my team, the Las Vegas Raiders. This week we had the long-awaited Bills versus Lions matchup and Monday Night Football, Raiders versus Falcons.
Hey, if you're looking for any of your auto needs, stopping over to D&M Auto Sales on 3071 Seneca Street. Need some new tires? I just got some tire fix. Stopped on over there. They took care of me real quick. Remember, 3071 Seneca Street, you needing some new brakes, any of your car needs, new car, any car needs, stop over and see Dave or Dave Jr. at 3071 Seneca Street, or give them a call at 716-541-5618. D&M Auto Sales for all your auto needs.
Okay, so let's start off with our Bills versus Lions game. Last week, we had talked about it a little bit leading into it, as far as it was going to be a major game and was going to either put some hate to bed or give some new fuel to things. They were, I think they were, Lions were unfavorably at an advantage as far as predictions and all that. I had said last week that I thought that Bills were going to be able to do this, especially after the Rams game. I should have put money down on this one because I didn't think that the money lines were accurate. And actually, in our app there, the Pick'em lead that we're in, they were giving Bills, it was like a ridiculous 20% chance to win or something. It was pretty crazy.
That's the money. That just means 4 out of 5 people were picking Detroit. So I mean, I liked your take last week. The Bills typically respond very well when challenged, and they certainly were challenged. And despite the injuries and all of the issues that they were going to Detroit with, they were able to handle business. And it was extremely fun to watch. I know you were texting me as it got down to a nail-biting situation there towards the end. But, I mean, before I even get into Josh, because, Jesus, the guy is just doing things that no one's ever seen before, I got to give some respect to Babbage. It's funny saying that after they scored 42 points, but the Bills sold out and were 100% committed to stuffing the run. And that's exactly what they did. They made it a point of saying, we're going to make Goff beat us. And that was the only way that was going to happen. Now, I see you got the stats up there, and Goff obviously had a monster game. But when the defense needed the stops, they got them. When we came out at the beginning of the second half and the Bills got the ball, they go down and score, then they stuff Detroit. Those are the types of things that you really want to give kudos to the coaching, because the adjustments that they made to come out in the second half and continue to keep that lead and continue to keep the heat on them was a big reason why they were able to have success. They had the stuffs when they needed to. They did the things they needed to do. Having the backups all over the field like they did. Remember, we didn't know what was going to happen, but Rapp, Hamlin, and Douglas didn't play. That was before it even had gotten started. So when you're down 3 of your 4 cover players, you're in a tough spot, and you still got Milano coming back, and then Dorian Williams gets hurt in the game, and then Milano gets hurt in the game, and then you got Balin Spector in there. So he's mismatching, and he's trying to figure out how and what we can do to slow them down. Those position players did their job, but I was very impressed with the way that Ed Oliver was able to get upfield and attack the quarterback. I feel like a lot of people have been challenging him this year, asking him to, after he got the huge contract last season, people are kind of wondering when this guy is going to show up. And yesterday was the type of game that we really needed him to do that, and that's exactly what he did. And another thing that has become a theme that people really don't talk about this, but I have no problem pointing it out. The Bills not only destroyed the Lions, they destroyed them. A lot of their players are hurt and now out for the season. This is one of the, maybe I'm looking back at the entire schedule. I can go back and put my finger on games where guys went down and didn't come back for a long time. Bills are rough. They're tough. And they really, really got physical yesterday, and it showed. Now, I'm not saying that they hurt these guys on purpose or anything like that, But it seems to me every time that we go out there's bad intentions. And it was great to watch them meet that challenge yesterday of a team at home who had everybody saying that they were going to win, and the Bills were able to go out there and do what they needed to do. Coaching is a huge part of this game. I think Brady proved yesterday. I mean, Josh was awesome. Like I said, I'm going to save that to the end. But the preparation in the plays that he had designed yesterday that worked to perfection, there was maybe 6 or 7 times where that happened, G. One of the touchdowns that Josh had, it looked like it was a penalty. It was so easy because he just walked right into the end zone, right? When they had that 4th and 2 and they ran that little pass play to Ty Johnson, I mean, they were expecting to score on that. They were saving that for that type of a situation, and they took advantage of a number of mismatches that they were able to exploit on Detroit's defense because they were banged up too. I already talked a little bit about Babbage. He did a great job with what he had, and, because he sold out and proved that he was going to stop the run and did it, it was their game plan, and it worked. And, and when it comes to McDermott, obviously he had these guys ready to go, but there's still a couple of things that, you're just shaking your head at. The end of the first half, when the Bills got the ball back after they were down at the goal line, and this is where you and I started texting each other, G. Josh, we were at the goal line. You could have ran it 4 times and let Josh score. They get a penalty, they move it back, then they miss the fucking field goal. So now everybody is fired up and pissed off again. Well, the defense holds them. They missed the field goal, and then we got the ball for 30 seconds, and Josh gets an intentional grounding on the first play, which is a 10-second runoff, but the Bills had 2 timeouts. He took the 10-second runoff instead of, burning the timeout. Now, I mean, say what you want. I just feel like you can have the clock run out and have those timeouts left, but, you want the time on the clock. You need the time on the clock. And ultimately what ended up happening was they go down there and they didn't even end up kicking anyway. So that was very, very upsetting. You look at the situation at the end of the game when the Bills were trying to make it, the 2-score game and all those things were going on. When they were down there late, he could have gone past the 2-minute warning and not allowed Detroit to use that to their advantage. He could have went the clock all the way down to like 2:03, ran the play, blew the 2-minute warning, and now Detroit doesn't have that timeout. Those are the little things that I'm talking about, okay? Obviously, I'm super excited. We beat Detroit. Josh had a monster game, and, we're 11-3. But it's these little stupid things that continue to happen that you're shaking your head and you're wondering, how is it possible that you're not prepared to figure this situation out? And so many times he's done that. And yesterday was just another example of how we can add a lot of that stuff to the list. I mean, I know you watched. What did you think when you saw those things going on? Were you like shaking your head? I know that you had a little bit more problems with what Campbell had done, but I mean, talk to me a little bit about what you think about with both coaches, G? Give me
the takeaway that I got from watching the Bills. One of the things that hit me probably like towards the end of first quarter is I was thinking McDermott, like you said, he prepared his guys for this game. One of the things that we've talked about in the past is it looked like the Bills were not prepared. It's like they just showed up and said, we're gonna pick teams at the beginning of the game and play football today.
They got it going right away.
They had a plan to deal with what the Lions were going to give them. You can tell they had just studied tape. You could just tell from the play. Joe Brady went out to kind of make this his masterpiece or something. I mean, the announcers were all in his pocket and everything else. So one of the things that I took away from watching it is you guys looked better prepared for this game than the Lions did. I'm not saying the Lions weren't prepared. I'm saying that you guys, looked like you didn't only just have a plan for let's go with the first 5 minutes of the game and see what happens. You guys had a plan, like you said, specifically for these situations. Here's what we're going to do. You didn't see the communication breakdown that you see a lot of times happen, like between,
Yeah, it was loud in there too. You're right.
yeah, between quarterback and coach, between quarterback and front line, all those kind of things. It was almost like they didn't need the communication aspect as much because they had just prepared for this so much that everybody was on the same page for what you were going to go out there to do.
Yeah.
So I will say that I felt, out of your games that I've watched this season, including the Rams game that you just played, I felt like the Bills came out this game more ready than I've seen them for an opponent. And I don't know if that loss, like I said last week, I think that loss to the Rams, I think was the best thing that could have happened to you before going to the Lions, because I think that it charged your guys up. I think that it, made McDermott say, we're ending this. It made Joe Brady say, we got something to prove. I think it was the best thing that could have happened to you to take that loss to the Rams, and I'm going to say that, obviously every game at this point is important, but I think the Lions game was extremely important to the fans for Buffalo Bills, because, you guys are going into work and doing whatever you're doing, and you're getting all the hate of, see, you guys lost to the Rams. You guys thought you were great. Look at that. You guys are going downhill. You face real teams.
After that Seattle loss, the Rams are in first place in their division now, too, by the way, and they're going to make the playoffs. And I guarantee you, the teams like we played yesterday and some of the better teams in the NFC do not want to play those Rams. That's for damn sure. But anyway, keep going.
And then, moving into this game, it was, well, if they don't beat the Lions, then we're really going to see what the Bills are like. And it was all talk. And so this Lions game, was extremely important, and the Bills showed up to play. The adjustment in the second half, we've talked about it before. I thought, that was a great adjustment. And it was needed. Lions are a second half team. Lions in that second half, they are a team that people do not want to play in quarter 3 and quarter 4. So yeah, Bills went into the half ahead. But I feel like Lions fans, people watching, everyone else was like, okay, that's cool, because second half is about to start and Lions are about to, do their thing, and we're going to watch, Bills go downhill. And, none of your players ever let up the entire game. You took the Lions seriously the whole time. And I feel like that has been something that we've, kind of gone at McDermott for, which is, why aren't you taking these guys more seriously? Why is there not more planning? Why are, and I think that you took your opponent extremely seriously.
Yeah.
We were talking before the show, I'm not going to say that, that Campbell's decision is the reason the Bills won. I think I've seen that posted and everything else. I think that's a bit extreme. I do feel like, his horrible decision did affect the outcome of the game. I think that it affected, Lions morale at that point. I think that it was, really late in the game to be, making those kind of dumb decisions. Who knows if there would have been a different outcome. I was furious at Dan over there. I'm not even a Lions fan. Just as a football fan, I was just furious at how you could be that freaking stupid. And who's telling you to do these things? I mean, who's on your sideline saying, hey, what we should do? We should just do a random onside kick with 12 minutes to go and blah, blah, blah. Like, especially when we have a rule now where you have to announce it. I mean, even if it could have been surprise onside kick, I would have given them a little bit more slack for, okay, it's going to be a surprise, because you wouldn't expect it at 12 minutes. You're not going to expect that. So I would get that if that messed up. But you have to announce the surprise. They know you're doing an onside kick. It makes no sense to do what he did. And I was very happy that the Bills made him pay for that dumb decision, because I feel like that dumb of a decision you should pay for. So I'm glad that Hollins made him pay for that. But if I was a Detroit Lions fan, I would be flipping out. I mean, there's lots of people that, have been saying that, these kind of decisions made by Campbell are what's going to get in the way of the Lions actually, bringing home those rings. They're a really good team, but if they're being held back by horrible decisions, then, they can't get any farther than they're getting. And that decision was a, game impacting decision. I thought both quarterbacks were really on. Allen, I feel like steals the show every time he plays, but I don't think Goff got the credit that Goff deserved for that game either. I mean, both of them made each other better in that game. I mean, they were just phenomenal watching them at work. I was a little surprised at how easily you guys shut down Gibbs. I know Bills fans, were complaining about the Bills defense. Lions fans have every reason to complain about the Lions defense there.
They're in trouble.
But in this kind of a contest where you're racking up 48 points, 42 points, blah blah blah, okay, both sides, defenses are not doing what they should be doing. But I think what people have forgotten is you're talking about two teams that this is what they do. They score points. I mean, this is what they do. So if you put them together, it's going to be a high scoring, kind of contest. I did not see the tremendous issues with the Bills defense that would terrify me as a Bills fan, especially with who you have out. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be terrified about my defense.
No.
If I was the Lions, then I would be very worried.
Well, they had some serious injuries. They had a bunch
about
of
my
guys
defense.
go down. Yeah, and I kind of want to just counter on some of the things that you said. Campbell gets a pass a lot of the time, G. Last year in the NFC Championship game, he went on fourth down a bunch of times against San Francisco and blew it. And people were, to this day, some diehard Detroit fans have the same types of feelings about game time decision and clock management. And Campbell is a gambler, and he goes for it quite a bit on fourth down. The fact that you're taking away the element of surprise, like you said, with the onside kick stuff now, it makes it so much easier for teams to prepare for it and have the right guys. Even when they declared that they were going to do it, that Bills changed half of the guys that were on the field for the kick. So, I mean, there's two things to that. Was it weird? Was it odd? That's not the normal thing. Absolutely, yes. But at the same time, Detroit hadn't stopped Josh at all. Not at all. And if they kicked it deep with the 2-score lead that we had, you knew up 2 scores, fourth quarter, what are the Bills going to do? They're going to run it. They're going to run it, and then they're going to fake run it, and then Josh is going to run it, and then Josh is going to – there was no way that they were going to stop them. So I kind of get why he tried for the onside kick. In my opinion, it should have been the other way around. When he kicked it deep, and he shouldn't have. He should have kicked the onside.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking the same thing watching the show. I'm like, well, switch those two decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, like I understand that, Lions did have a stop, but I understand that, Bills were kind of imposing their will. But I just feel like as a coach, you can back up the decision that, I trusted my defense to get me the ball back. So we kicked it back there and we gave my defense a chance to get me the ball back. I feel like you can back that decision up. I feel like you cannot back up a decision to do an announced onside kick at that point in the game. Like if you didn't have to announce it, if it really was going to be a surprise onside kick, I felt like he could have backed that decision up.
Sure.
As far as I was trying to change some things up, defense, wasn't looking the best, so we went for it. Okay. That's a gamble, but it's not a gamble when the other team knows what you're doing. It's not a gamble anymore. I mean, it was a horrible decision that people are going to be talking about for a long time with him. And Lions fans are going to be rightfully, upset about that decision for a long time. Do I think it's going to cost him his job and all that? No.
No way.
You know what I mean? But it is decisions like that. His fan base is correct. that it is decisions like that that might stop you from getting that ring. I mean, you make that kind of decision. If this was the Super Bowl right now, then you just lost Super Bowl on a really dumb decision. So, I get his fan base with that. James Cook, man, I put up his stats there. I love watching him work, man. You know me, I love running backs. I love watching James Cook work. I think that not only is he getting better season to season, I feel like he's improving at some points game to game. I feel like he's perfecting his craft while we're watching it. I feel like he did things this game that would not have worked even 3 games ago, but he's kind of working on his craft. He's seeing all the openings he's got to see. I mean, he's just making
nice
perfect. There are, but he's making, almost like kind of perfect decision making. Like he's just making, as a running back, they got to make all those decisions in a split second, and I feel like he's making really good decisions in that position. So it was great watching him work. You guys couldn't get Davis going, but you didn't really need to get Davis going either. You'd like to get him going because you'd like to have, both of your running backs, posting up there.
Davis didn't get going, but he scored and he was a threat. And that's the thing that has been so awesome in this little run that's been going on, is that those 3 running backs are playing off of each other. They want to see each other do well, but they're competing to be out on the field. So you got 3 guys that love each other, want to see each other do well, and they're busting their ass every single time they get out on the field. Cook, I mean, the long run that he had where the dude tried to grab his hair, if you're watching at the line of scrimmage and you're watching dudes like Spencer Brown absolutely destroy people on his pulls, and you see Dion doing the same thing, and the line is just totally giving Josh all the time that he needs to, take you apart. Look, man, when Josh is throwing to those running backs, a lot of the time it's very close to the line of scrimmage. So it's kind of like a little part of our running game when he gets it to them. So it may not be Ray Davis's game this week, but you never know who it's going to be that's going to step up. We know Josh is always going to step up. We know that line's going to be there. But now that this team is starting to get everybody back, Kincaid was awesome, had some big first downs. Those Coleman was out there a lot. However, he didn't get a lot of balls, but neither did Amari Cooper, because a lot of what the Bills were trying to do was in one-on-one, and they were doubling those 2. So that's why Ray Davis was getting one-on-one matchups. That's why, you had Ty Johnson matched up on a linebacker quite a bit and a safety, and they were taking him to lunch, man, all game long. So when you have that luxury of not knowing who the guy is week in and week out, it's got to be very difficult for a team to prepare for that. And, then
I feel like Kincaid and Knox are your good, we need this play to work right now. And Kincaid and Knox are really good options for, I mean, I don't care if they get 100 yards a game. It's not that. It's when you needed 5 yards to stay in the game, Kincaid and Knox come up with that, that 5 yards you needed. You know what I mean? I feel like they are those key players, and they are the player you can go to in those key moments. And they've both stepped up in that role. Something that seems to be this year and this team that I've noticed, from last year, is Allen just seems to be on page with all of his receivers. There's not like Josh Allen and Ty Johnson are great and they can always figure it out. He's figuring it out with all of his wide receivers. He's on track with all, and that's what makes them all viable weapons. Is it's not like a Kelsey and Mahomes thing where they can read each other's minds and then okay, we'll try to sprinkle the rest in there.
Sure.
He just seems to be in line with the weapons that he has. He's very comfortable with all of those weapons, and he doesn't have to favor one over the other. I mean, he knows where to find them. He knows when to pass to them, which I think is something that lots of quarterbacks, that defines the difference is, when do I hit this guy? And I think Josh Allen knows when to do that.
I wonder why it was so different last year. I wonder why it wasn't working out like this last year. I wonder what it could be. Well, I know exactly what it was. And for as good as Diggs was, and for as awesome as he made people around him, his selfishness obviously was part of the problem. I don't care what anybody says, okay? He wanted the ball so much that he's taking it away from other people. I get that he needed to be the middle of the offense, which is fine. But as soon as Brady took over last year and they started to use a little bit more of the other pieces that are around, that's when Diggs was upset. And you know what, man? There were so many people that were like, oh, he doesn't have a number one. He's going to be in so much trouble. Is he going to be okay without him? He's looked like a freaking video game star, dude. He has 14 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and he sat the fucking fourth quarter against the 49ers. 14! That is insane. 4 2/3 touchdowns a game, dude. Like, are you kidding me? And you don't know where it's coming from, G. Is it going to be the tight end? Is Josh going to run it? Is he going to throw a little hitch pass to Shakir? Is he going to throw a chest pass to Kincaid? Who knows? That's what's great when defenses don't know who your guy is relying on and they can't figure it out who they need to double. That just makes it easier for 17 to take over and take total control. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. When you saw Campbell, on the sideline with his hands on his hips or bitching at the ref, every single time in his head, he's probably saying to himself, I can't fucking stop this kid. And he can't.
Yeah, I saw this on Josh Allen too when I was going through it. Pretty cool. So week 13, first QB in NFL history with pass rush and receiving touchdown the same game. Mm-hmm. Week 14, he's out there with 3+ pass TDs, 3+ rush TDs. Breaking those records. So you guys have wanted him to be an MVP for you.
I'd rather he's the MVP of the Super Bowl. I could give a flying fuck about the MVP, Pete. But I mean, if we're going to argue about it, if you don't think that it's him right now, then you ain't watching the games, dude. I mean, you don't even like the Bills, and I know it bugs you to say it, but you know who the best goddamn player in the league is right now, and it's not even close.
He's definitely stepped up. I feel like he's finally gotten off of the I need to do everything myself, and he's gotten more into the team mode. And I mean, he still does those Superman moments, but I feel like
picks his spots.
They're smart. It's not dumb. Like, okay, I'm gonna do everything. It's I have a chance to do this, and I can do this, and I can hurt, and all those kind of things, and I'm gonna do that. So. Mm-hmm. He has definitely matured as a quarterback and as a player. He's got the right offensive coordinator. He's got the right tools to get it done.
Yeah.
This is a monster season for him. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm just tired of people, throwing Lamar into the mix or throwing.
I don't get how Lamar is in the same
Joe Burrow too
conversation
talk about it. I'm just like
Goff should be mentioned over Burrow any day.
Goff should be mentioned over Lamar because he's winning his division.
Yeah,
I think that should be the first.
Baker should be over either of those. I'll take Mayfield over both of those. So
I don't know. I mean, listen, This is that. You should be arguing who's in second place, not who's in first, because of everything you just said, right? If you're putting Baker and Lamar and Goff in the same conversation, Goff had fucking 5 picks in one game. We all know Baker, what he can do, and we all know what Lamar can do. And they all got stars around him. Baker's got Mike Evans, right? We know all the stars that Goff has. Lamar's got fucking King Henry that he's handing it off to. Who does Josh got?
And Flowers.
Don't get me wrong. These guys are becoming stars, but they're becoming stars because they're with 17, okay? All these guys that have come here, Mari Cooper is obviously a star before he got here. But everybody else, if you look down the line, these are all guys that are, on rookie deals or were free agents that were brought in here to do a job. Matt Collins, you even talked about him on that kick return.
I like House.
I do too. And not only do I like him because of that kind of stuff, I like him because he's tough and he blocks and he gets dirty. If you watch one of Josh's runs yesterday, he is absolutely destroying cornerbacks out there in the flat whenever they're running in that direction. So, I mean, those are just so many of the reasons why this has become so much fun, man. This is it's just fun to watch. It's just fun to watch when everybody's working as a cohesive unit, like we've talked about. Okay. And if they can continue to take this momentum into the rest of the month and into the playoffs, they're going to be very tough to beat.
Yeah, they definitely, are presenting as the team, the team to beat. I was happy that, McDermott sort of showed what he showed against the Lions. Because he's got a lot of haters out there too, as far as, is he the right coach for this high caliber team and all that. And I feel like, as a team, although it was very close, I did feel like the Bills outplayed the Lions. And I feel like McDermott outcoached Campbell. So, I feel like the score was extremely close, but it was funny because if you're watching the game, if you're watching that Bills offense, just charge down the field, you're kind of surprised that the game is that close. You know what I mean? Because it didn't feel nearly as close as that score wound up.
They had a 2-score lead pretty much throughout the entire game, and then Detroit would score. And then we get a 2-score lead. And then we get, like that. You're right. When you're that was kind of like the Bills against the Rams, right? That whole game we were chasing them, but we knew that there was a play or two that could have happened that could have went our way. Now, obviously, we never got it, but that was the type of feeling that you got. And I don't know. I wish that the defense could have showed us a little bit more, but again, they were so banged up and had all those subs in there. And having these last 3 games, it's going to allow them to get prepared for the playoffs as far as health is concerned.
Moving on to the Raiders, I don't know, embarrassment. I don't really know what
exciting
to call
fourth quarter.
At this point,
it was a little bit more exciting, at least.
I actually found this game to be our most embarrassing game of the season, and not even because of our performance as a team, but because of how bad the Falcons were.
Man, they're tough to watch.
And we still had to find a way to get under that, to stay under that 15. I mean, you could tell right away when Ritter came out, the play calling and scheming and everything else like that, you could tell right away that they had no intention on Ritter actually playing today. Whether that's because they had no confidence in Ritter or because they didn't want Ritter to actually ball out and us win. I'm not sure, but you could tell just from the play calling, we're just going to have Ritter just hand the ball off. It's just
he was doing, and he did it from shotgun. So the broadcast talked a lot about it, G, and it's obvious when you're in shotgun, most defenses are pretty sure you're going to pass the ball. Not once did Ritter go under center and do any type of play action, which is going to freeze those linebackers. It's going to bring the safeties up a little bit. And when you're not doing that, guys are just sitting back in the zone, and it's going to make it so much easier for them to take advantage of a young guy like Ritter, and that's exactly what ended up happening.
And it just showed a step back from the advancement of our play calling and everything. Turner has done a much better job, for us as far as, selecting what plays to play and when to throw the ball there. And blah, blah, blah.
I don't know.
And none of that existed during this game.
You feel like because Ritter was in there, they just abandoned what the plan was going to initially be and kind of just went vanilla and as basic as they possibly could. Because to me, like, I figured that Turner would get in there and at least put some play action in there so that it would give an opportunity for Ritter to make some plays. I don't know. Maybe the tank is real. There were quite a bit of fans in the stadium with signs that said it too. And, when you're watching a 12-3 game for most of the second half, a lot of people had to listen to what the broadcast had to say. And it was clear that they were disappointed with not only what was going on in Vegas, but also with Cousins. Cousins was terrible, like you said, G, and they are embarrassing to watch. Thank God their defense played out. There's actually a guy, I texted you during the broadcast. There's a kid, he's not a kid anymore. Damone Harris, number 91, who had a tip ball and some tackles for Atlanta. He went to Timon. He went to my high school. So I was locked in watching that game for that reason alone, and it allowed me to see that, man, the Falcons are not good, and I don't see them having any chance at touching the Bucks. But I don't know. It was a pretty boring game across the board.
It was. I mean, it was like watching people trying to lose. I mean, it was. I mean, for me, I support the whole tank idea. Frankly, I think we should have done this last year instead of this year. I like the options more last year. So it doesn't bother me that we lost. What did bother me a little bit is I really wanted to see Ritter get a chance to run a game, and let's see what this kid has, and let's see if he has anything to offer our organization. And they stripped Ritter's right to do that. They were not calling plays like they were trying to score points. They just weren't. So we didn't get a chance to see Ken Ritter do something. Now, once again, the two sides of that, are one, did we not get a chance to see that because Ritter was that bad in practice, and they're like, there's no way this kid's going to be able to do it. So let's just keep everything, run, and not really do much and all that. Or did we do that because we realized, how bad the Falcons were, and if we were going to still lose this game, then we had to put a leash on everybody.
Well, the refs helped the Falcons out too. How about that horseshit call on Spillane late in the game? I mean, I'm finally locked in, and I'm cheering for the team who I obviously hate, and it's no surprise. But it's your team, so and I like some of their players as I've watched them this year, and Spillane is certainly one of them. What the fuck else was he supposed to do? He blocks down the pass, and he didn't even touch him in the head, and he just knocked his pussy ass down. So of course the refs are going to call that shit, and then they still gave them another chance to come down. But had the Raiders gotten the ball there after that punt, they would have had all 3 timeouts and 2:30 to go. Like, that was so frustrating for me to watch. I couldn't imagine being a Raiders fan watching it.
Well, I mean, it depends on where you're at as a Raiders fan. I mean, for me, I know we're losing. I don't watch each week because I'm thinking this is the week that we're going to win and it's all going to come together and it's amazing. Because I know that we're trying to lose. So I don't go into the game with those kind of hopes. Like I said, the thing that annoyed me is let's use this tanking time to, test out what we got, preparing for next season. So I feel like Ritter deserved a chance and still deserves a chance to run a game. Give him the correct tools, all the shit that you give AOC all the time. Give Ritter the same stuff, and
he looked good on that touchdown.
See what happens.
He had some nice throws.
There were he had some nice scrambles. There were some signs of a more mobile, more athletic quarterback than AOC. But it's almost like they're trying to protect Connell or something because they did the same shit when they were doing the quarterback competition. They gave O'Connell all the starters and everything. They gave Minshew all the second and third strings, and then they said it's a competition.
Yeah, that's garbage.
It ain't a competition. You set O'Connell up for success, and you set Minshew up for disaster. So it's almost like they're like trying to like protect this kid and like force the fan base to support him or like him. Or I don't get it. I've said before, I like the kid. I understand that the team likes him. He's a good guy, all those things, but I don't really care who you are.
Nice guys finish last, baby.
Yeah, I care about how you are as a player, and he is horrible. So if you want to keep one of our quarterbacks going forward for next year, I would like to keep the best choice. And I'm guessing O'Connell's going to be back next week because he was trying to get back this week. So I'm assuming he's going to be back next week. So we had one chance there to see, Ritter run an entire game and kind of test them out, and they blew that chance. And whether or not they, blew that chance because they wanted to make sure they lost to the Falcons, whether or not they blew that chance because they didn't want competition for AOC, or whether or not Ritter is really just that bad, I don't know which of those, three are the case.
Yeah.
I have a
Might be
hard
all
time
three.
believing that he's that bad, that he doesn't deserve a correct play call. I don't think that he's that bad, that he deserves that. So I'm left with, did we, cap him so that we didn't beat the Falcons, or did we cap him because we didn't want him to beat Aiden? They tried really hard for Minshew not to beat him. They tried really hard for that. So I don't get the logic of the Aiden thing. I don't get it. The logic of tanking, I get that. I understand, why we would tank and all that. I get all that. But protecting Aiden, I have no idea. I thought that Ritter, had some, some shining moments. And I really would have liked to see, see what he could have done. It was nice to see Madison back.
He runs hard, man. I like him.
It's nice to see Madison. I like him. I'm really liking Sincere. I've talked about Sincere preseason and all that before too. I like Sincere. I'm kind of hoping that he gets in the mix.
The ankle's messed up. I think that's going to be an issue moving forward for him. But
but I'm always thinking next year at this point.
No,
you know what I mean? I ain't thinking. If anything, don't let him play again this year. Don't let him get more hurt. Let him sit. I've been over Abdullah for a couple of seasons now. I think that Abdullah has some great moments. And I think that Abdullah kind of skates because neither Madison or McCormick do what Abdullah does as far as, those short passes, those checks,
Yeah.
Abdullah's better at that. But I think that Abdullah is very replaceable, for us as a team. Going forward, it would be nice to see, Madison and McCormick going forward. But we do need a replacement for Abdullah that does what Abdullah does, but is better at what he does. Jacobs could do what Abdullah does and what, Madison could do. But he was better at doing it than Abdullah was. Yeah. I don't mind Abdullah punt returning. That's fine. I would like to find a better answer at running back. Of course, Bijan there, Robinson, he tore us up, which, once again, our defense had a couple of good moments.
They had one big run, G. I mean, take out the big run.
He had a lot of those little ones, though. But he had a lot of those little ones to get downs.
21 to get 90-something. I get it. It's obvious that team is going to rely on him moving forward because they just have no faith in Cousins whatsoever. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But the Raiders defense has kept them in. I mean, when we were talking about this at halftime, you and I, it was exactly the type of half the Raiders have had all year, right? Quarterback didn't do much. They didn't score any points, but the defense kept them in it. So here we go. So, you got a 9-3 halftime score and a touchdown and you take the lead. So it was just like, are they going to do anything worth anything at all in the second half? And they just didn't until that second last drive. And
we had to make sure that we didn't score, so we didn't win.
And the turnovers too. Again,
we had to keep it to 0.
Yeah, and he made some bad. His picks were both terrible. So sometimes as you're watching, you're scratching your head, but in the back of your head, you are thinking maybe they want to lose these games. Maybe they're not as interested as I thought. Maybe they're just trying to get a lot of these young guys a chance to get out there and play. Who knows?
I just the fact that AP is not fired today tells you that this is the plan. No coach is surviving on a 2-12 season and just losing to, how embarrassing the Falcons were at home and keeps their job at this point. I mean, it does not happen especially when he's just got a little contract. It's not like he's got like a, the Gruden,
Right.
10-year $1 million contract. Like he's got a little 2-year contract. Like he's gone. The reason why he's not gone is that he's in on it. And the reason why he's not panicked about, losing his job and he's remaining calm while his team is doing just god awful is because, that's the plan. And I'm okay with that as a plan. Why people are still paying, good money to go watch the Raiders, lose to a middle school team. I have no idea. I mean, it literally was like watching my 12-year-old's football league is like what that was watching last night. I mean, that was embarrassing. I mean, as professionals, that was embarrassing, and it's embarrassing to lose to them. But the saving grace is that I know that we're trying to lose to them. That's so whatever. We lost to them. We had to work hard this game to lose to them, and it's a shame because I would have liked us to be able to actually play and still lose because I really want Ritter to get a chance. I'm a guy that I like to see all my options, and at 2-11 like we were before we lost this game, if we give him all the chances in the world and he bombs, who cares? I mean, who cares? But we got to see it.
Well, he got hurt
out there or not.
Did you see when he got hurt and the broadcast was like, this is his only chance. He needs to go out. He played better after he got smacked. So maybe that was a wake-up call for him. Maybe he went to the sideline and was like, screw you guys. I know you want to lose, but I'm not quitting. I don't know what happened there. And
that's the problem for someone like him is he gets put on this team that's trying to tank and, he can't perform because they don't want him to perform. So, where's he going? That's why I believe that they talked to Scott Turner before Turner took the OC job, because that had to be the same way. Like, why am I going to take an OC job for a team that's going to be, 2-12 at this point and get fired next year? Why would I take that gig? So to me, that conversation also happened, but you could just tell by the type of plays that were being called and the way the plays were being done that they were not trying to set Ritter up to succeed. I mean, the play calling took a huge step back from the past couple of games. I mean, he wasn't even hitting wide receivers for the whole game. I mean, it's just he was not set up to succeed. And once again, if the reason for that is they didn't want him to succeed because they didn't want to win, then whatever. I hope they had that conversation with him before the game. Or if the reason was that they just didn't want him to do better than Aiden, I don't know which one it is.
The fact that they didn't have him have any play action at all immediately is a huge red flag to me. Does that mean that he can't run it? Or does that mean that they don't want to run it? And if they don't want to run it, then that immediately is telling me, that they are doing something there that is not very becoming of a team that's trying to win. If you don't put a quarterback back, look at Josh.
Playing against his old team that he knows.
Exactly. Josh's play action has allowed him to dominate the way that he has. A lot of the times, look, Josh plays in shotgun a lot. We know that. But when he's under center, no one knows what he's going to do because they have that triple threat running back, they have the quarterback, and then they have the quarterback who can run. So going under center immediately puts a lot more pressure on the defense. If Ritter would have won under center once with the wheels that he had some nice runs for first downs, like you said. Why not take advantage of that? And when they're not taking advantage of it, that's a head scratcher and makes you wonder why the hell or what the hell they're trying to do out there.
They neutralized the threat of him being able to run by, like you're saying, by their setup that they're going with. And
right.
I mean, that's what he was bringing to the team that was a little bit new for us right now as a quarterback, is his ability to get those plays. And he still managed to get some of those good scrambles and advances forward. I just thought it was really, not cool to do to Ritter, and not cool for your fan base, to not take advantage of, of the chance for him to ball out. And you know what? If we would have won this game, so what? We have 3 wins. We're still fine for the draft. It's worth it to get the win to see what we have moving forward instead of tank against a team like this. And like I said, if Ritter was going to play again next game and they let him ball out, cool, I guess. But Aiden's already on the sideline suited up. So I have a hard time believing they're going to have him sit out again. I mean, the kid wants to play. So I have a hard time believing they're going to sit him out again. And I just felt like he was set up to not be better than Aiden. And that, that was the plan is don't go out there and be better than Aiden. If we would have played the kind of games that we've been playing the past couple of games, we would have beat the Falcons yesterday. So, maybe we had to scheme things to make sure we lost because the Falcons were that bad. But it is a disservice to the fan base and a disservice to Ritter to not let him, work with the team and see what he can pull up with. Drake London, I thought had a bad game for Drake London. But and you don't really kind of count him while you're watching the game. But looking at these stats, I'm seeing he only got 3 targets. So what not much he's gonna do with that.
Cousins only had 11 completions. I mean, he didn't throw the ball at all. They gave it to your boy almost every single time to run it in there. And like I said, he did end up with his yards. He got 125, but only 30 of them were on one play towards the end. It was like the Raiders continued to stack that box and not allow him to do anything. But finally, when he did break one, that was kind of like, okay, all right, now they're going to continue to rely on this guy moving forward through this game. But they're just, for as bad as it is to watch your offense because you're in QB purgatory, Kirk Cousins, man, what the hell happened to that guy? He is absolutely lost.
I guess we know why they drafted another one.
Yeah,
I guess we know now. We were wondering, like, how do you pay Kirk Cousins $90-something million and then draft somebody? Why would you do that?
There's got to be a way out of it. That's the only thing I can think of. And obviously, if they dump him and they have a quarterback on a rookie deal, they're in a lot better position moving forward. But the kid hasn't played yet.
No one's picking him up on that contract next year.
Oh, I'm just saying they might just cut him loose. I'm telling you right now, if this continues, which they're going to get spanked if they make a wild card anyway, this guy is not the answer for them. And taking the shot they did at that quarterback in the draft, I know you wanted him bad, but taking the shot like they did, now they're stuck with him, and they can't be stuck with both for another season if this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, well, apparently that's why they made the move that they did, because they didn't want to, compete for the 2 quarterbacks that we have this year. I mean, it was a better QB draft last year, so they said, okay, well, we'll pick up our guy now and not worry about it next year. But Falcons are, and I've said it before, Falcons are not a team that I watch a lot, so I didn't really realize how bad they actually are doing until I watched them struggle against a team that's trying to tank, and you're struggling against that team. I mean, that's pretty sad. You got 1 touchdown at the beginning of the game, and then we got to make sure that we score nothing until you finally get some field goals. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you got the safety. You got the safety too.
You got to play it perfect. And you give up a safety and 2 turnovers. Good luck with your offense. That's never going to be, a recipe for success. Those 2 teams are going in the same direction, in my opinion. If they don't figure out what's going on at quarterback, the Falcons I'm talking about right now, obviously you guys are going to draft one that we already know what that's looking like. We've talked about it for weeks. But if the Falcons, are going to have any shot, it is definitely not going to be with Kirk Cousins in there. And you look at the success that some of the rookies that have played well this year, it's surprising that, the way that the Falcons are going, that they haven't given them a shot yet.
Yeah. Well, next week, the tank continues. So, Raiders fans, just watch, I'm on those forums, you know what I mean? So I see these people just get so upset. Like, how do you, why are you still getting upset? How everyone is on board with what the plan is. If you don't get the plan by now, then I guess you deserve to be upset every game. All these guys are like, I'm going to smash my TV. How can they lose to the Falcons? Because they're trying to lose to the Falcons. Like, watch the game for, I want to check on how some of these players are doing, get to know some of these players a little bit better and, all those kind of things. Like that's the purpose of this season. It's not, we're going to win the game. It's, okay, let me check out, how, Snowden, which of course, we have our issue with Snowden now, a little arrest there, but it's checking out, people like DJ Glaze and JPJ and, should we keep Diablo, like, those kind of things? Should we keep Ritter? Should we keep O'Connell? That's why you watch these games right now. So just go at it with a better attitude, and you won't be so angry all the time. Like, your team winning and losing, if you're a diehard fan, it affects your whole week. So
what do you think about Jacksonville? I mean, obviously they're limping in to play you guys this week. Do you see them putting up a better effort? Do you feel like they'll continue to kind of play it vanilla? Do you feel like O'Connell's going to be in there? Like, what do you got, you?
I think that we're going to see O'Connell because, like I said, they wanted to get him in this week. They wanted that to happen. They couldn't quite get it done, but they did have him suit up as an emergency third. So, I could definitely see him, getting back in there unless they want to give Ritter, a fair shot. But they kind of proved last game that that's not what they want to do. I see Jacksonville and us line up pretty well as teams anyway. When we're actually both trying to play. We're a good game to watch. I think that we're going to be in another situation where we're going to, hopefully they get ahead early so that we can actually play a little bit and not pass them. And then, we'll slow down again. I mean, I want these teams first quarter, I want them to get 40 points so that we can spend the next 3 quarters actually playing the game. And I can see, how our guys are looking. So, but I don't think Jacksonville is going to be able to do that. I see another, game like what we watched, here with Falcons and Raiders. I see another, boring game to watch that you care about if you're a Raiders person or if you're a Jacksonville person. Jacksonville as a team, I feel has messed up their rebuild that they wanted to do. I feel like they dropped the ball on a lot of different things and did not get that rebuild.
Lawrence isn't what they thought he was going to be. Let's just call a spade here. He's been brutal since that horrible stretch he had at the end of last season that allowed them to miss the playoffs.
Even before that, started going downhill. I mean, he had like 1 year where he looked like he was going to reach the potential that they that they had for him.
They went to the playoffs.
Which, and after that was his peak. That was it for him.
Yeah.
So and I like him. I liked him, back when he was draftable and everything else. I liked him. And he's just not who they wanted. He's definitely not someone you can build a franchise around at this point. I'm not even sure he's a very good, team leader. He just doesn't seem like on that field he's, commanding his team and all those kind of things. So it's a shame because I would have liked him to work out. I mean, he's not a Raider, so I guess who cares? But just for him and for his family.
I mean, I know that you liked him coming out of college. We've talked about that, and obviously, to have such a disappointing career thus far, it's strange because of the hype of him coming out of college.
Yeah,
the frame, the arm, all the intangibles, and then you just can't put it all together. It's concerning.
I think that he should have moved teams about 2 years ago, and tried to see, if or at least last year.
Peterson won a Super Bowl and did it with a backup quarterback. So, like, I don't know if.
But something's not development.
His development. You're right, and he's had a couple different coaches when he's been down there. So the development is certainly an issue. I don't know. I think he's taken some big hits. He doesn't. It just doesn't seem like he's got the same focus he had when he came into the league when he first started off. It's just. It's not the same.
But the other person I'll say that about is Burrow. I feel like both of them are that way. I feel like
Yeah, but
Burrow
Burrow's
didn't.
still putting up numbers.
Yeah,
But
it's not
Burrow's
the
got.
numbers he was supposed to be, though.
But the problem with, and look, I agree. Both of them got to the peak and have crashed down dramatically. And it's not just them. There's other guys around them on those teams that have been awful, including their coaching staff. So I think Burrow still has a lot left in the tank, and he's not going anywhere. As far as Lawrence goes, if another team, I mean, he's stuck in Jacksonville probably for the next five, not probably for the next 5 years at least. I just don't. I just don't see how you bring in a new coach and they start all over with this guy and you expect it to be anything different because we've already seen pretty much what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, I think that he's kind of at the max on what he's going to do.
The Bills play a rookie quarterback this weekend too, so it'll be interesting to see how McDermott attacks him. The Patriots have Drake May coming into town, who has yet to play at a Ralph Wilson Stadium or whatever it's called these days. It's going to be very loud. People are excited about the game. Got Flex G. They changed it from 1 to 4:30. I don't know what the idea was behind that. Maybe they want to get Josh on TV so more people can see how great he is. I don't know, but the Bills are set up now to play Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, and Drake May in the last 3 weeks of the season. And I mean, you have to. We're going to be 2 touchdown favorites this weekend. We probably will be next weekend. So I would assume that there'll be some severe scoreboard watching. The Bills play on Sunday, but the Chiefs play on Saturday against the Texans. So we'll know if they lose, then and we win, we'll be 1 back from the 1 seed. And I don't know if Mahomes is going to go. I haven't heard much about it this week, but I feel like there could be some serious shift in the standings if the Bills win and the Chiefs go down, and we got a shot at that bye in the first week of the playoffs. Take it off of mute, Goofy.
I will say, my final thought here as far as, things to gain, Brock Bowers, continues to be, exactly what I wanted him to be, what I thought he was going to be. Like I said, I love watching him on Georgia. I really hope that he sticks around. The fact that he's been able to have the season he's having while we're tanking is phenomenal. So if you are looking for some hope for the future, I think you get this guy a quarterback, and you have a team mindset of we're going to actually try to win now. Mm-hmm. I think that we're going to get to see some great things out of Brock Bowers. I'm looking forward to seeing.
I thought he was going to catch a touchdown on that second last drive. He had him, and he just missed him. Could have threw it up a little higher. I mean, the kid is a beast. You look at him, and you're just all I think about is basketball. Guy looks like a forward in basketball.
Yeah,
and he's a stud, and you better do your best to keep him around. That's all I got to say.
Well, have a good night, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Go Bills, baby.